Okay, so let's dive in. Today we're tackling a really big topic, one that feels both ancient and super relevant right now, spiritual awakening.
It really is. And yeah, it's a term that can sound a bit out there for some people, maybe. But when you look at the sources, like we did, it's clear it's this really deep, often life-changing journey of self-discovery.
Exactly. We've got some fascinating takes here, everything from, psychological views on mindfulness right through to very real practical experiences people have shared about navigating these huge shifts.
Yeah, some surprisingly practical stuff, actually.
So our goal today really is to try and demystify this a bit. What is spiritual awakening? How does it show up? And crucially, how can you navigate it? Because it can feel pretty challenging, even chaotic sometimes.
Definitely chaotic. So we'll look at it from a few different angles, hopefully bring some clarity.
Okay, so first things first. What are we actually talking about? What is it? Our sources give us a few angles, like John Kabat-Zinn talking about mindfulness.
Right, the awareness cultivated by paying attention on purpose in the present moment, non-judgmentally. That's kind of a foundation, isn't it? Grounding it in just being present.
Yeah, starting point. And then other sources build on that, right? They talk about a new level of awareness.
Exactly, realizing you're, a soul living this human experience. And that key bit about letting go of the ego.
Ah, yes, the ego. That voice in the head.
That constant chatterbox, yeah. The sources describe it as that incessant voice, letting go of that.
And some takes really elevate it, don't they? Like the pinnacle of spiritual achievement. Sounds pretty lofty.
It does. They describe it as this state of heightened awareness, profound inner peace, and this deep sense of interconnectedness. Eckhart Tolle's idea of freedom from the ego.
Where you're the observer and not the thoughts themselves.
Precisely. You realize you're watching the thoughts, not defined by them.
It's interesting how different traditions seem to converge on this. Buddhism's nirvana, Zen satori. They all point to this shift, right?
Yeah, a shift to pure consciousness, this sense that everything is connected. But then you get the source from Reddit.
Oh, yeah, I like that one. It felt very grounded.
Me too. It really cuts through what it calls the fluff and nonsense. It basically says awakening is just the full comprehension of something.
Simple as that.
Well, simple in concept, maybe. It's about becoming fully conscious of your own spirit, your true self, by really looking at your programmed beliefs. The stuff you picked up since childhood.
Observing, questioning, challenging.
Exactly. So it's less woo-woo, as the source puts it, and much more about just deep self-awareness, a very practical kind of awakening.
That's quite a contrast, isn't it, between the pinnacle of achievement idea and just fully comprehending something by questioning your own programming. Are they talking about the same thing?
I think they are, just from different altitudes, maybe. The Reddit view makes it very personal, very psychological almost. Become aware of your conditioning.
Right.
While the other views look at the bigger implications, this sense of unity, the peace, but maybe that peace comes from the comprehension, They're likely different facets of the same gem.
Okay, that makes sense. So let's talk about the journey itself, because it's not always like a gentle dawning, is it?
Yeah.
Sources say it often starts with a catalyst.
Yeah, and that catalyst is often something big, a significant, emotionally charged event. Think loss, upheaval, something that just shakes your foundations, your whole sense of who you are.
Challenges your identity, your security.
Exactly. And this can trigger what's called ego death, which sounds dramatic, I know.
It does sound pretty intense.
And it is intense, but it's not literal, obviously. It's the dissolving of that old constructed self, that ego structure we talk about. It crumbles to make way for something more authentic.
Okay. And there's this interesting distinction the sources make between spiritual awakening and ascension. Can you unpack that a bit?
Sure. Think of ascension as the bigger picture. It's described as this broader evolutionary shift for the planet, for humanity, like a collective rise in consciousness.
Okay, so a global thing.
Right. Whereas a spiritual awakening is more personal. It's often that dramatic, unexpected, jolting experience happening to an individual within that larger collective shift.
Ah, I see. So everyone having an awakening is part of the ascension process.
Exactly. They're ascending.
Huh?
But not everyone who's part of that broader ascension wave necessarily experiences that sudden, intense personal awakening we're focused on today.
Got it. And those intense experiences, they come with symptoms, right? Things that might feel pretty scary if you don't know what's happening.
Definitely. The sources list quite a few. Becoming highly sensitive and emotional, like way more than usual.
Feeling anxious, maybe even panicked.
Yeah, that too. Experiencing extremely high empathy, feeling just completely overwhelmed. Some people even start to question their sanity because it feels so different.
Wow. And physical stuff, too.
Oh, yeah. Aches, pains, fatigue, brain fog, a real sense of not being able to ground your energy. It's like your whole system is rebooting and it's messy.
It sounds like it. But the key is recognizing this discomfort isn't necessarily bad. It's part of the process.
That's what the sources suggest. It's the unlearning, the recalibration. It's uncomfortable, but it's movement.
So is there a map for this? Do the sources talk about stages?
They do outline a kind of typical progression, yeah. It often starts with the awakened stage. Big energy influx, psychic centers might open up. Suddenly you feel this need to just retreat, pull back.
Makes sense if it's overwhelming.
Then comes healing. This is where that energy starts clearing out blockages, old traumas, emotions are all over the place, wild swings.
Okay.
But you also start noticing synchronicities, meaningful coincidences. And here's the hopeful part. The sources say once these issues are truly dealt with, they're forever done.
Forever done. That sounds amazing, but almost too good to be true. Does that mean you never have setbacks?
That's a really good point. I think forever done refers more to resolving the root of specific traumas so they don't hook you in the same way again. It doesn't mean growth stops or challenges disappear entirely. It's integration.
Okay, that makes more sense. So after healing.
Then often comes the life purpose stage.
Yeah.
You feel inspired, a sense of beauty or mission starts to emerge. But, there might still be little niggles, tests from the universe to see if the clearing stuck.
Right, keeping you honest.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
And finally, the divinity stage. This is where you're described as being clear of old pain, negative beliefs. You're that polished diamond.
That polished diamond, it sounds like the goal. But
Yeah.
before that, there's this phase that sounds frankly terrifying. So
Sure.
the dark night of the soul.
Yes. It is intense. It's really the heart of the healing stage for many. You're face to face with the really deep stuff, painful memories, repressed trauma, all the old ways of being that need dismantling.
And it's so uncomfortable, people might just
Yeah.
quit, go back.
Absolutely. The sources say many choose to regress because facing it is just too hard. And adding to that, you might feel isolated, ostracized, or ridiculed, even by people close to you, because your changes make them uncomfortable.
Wow. It's like a purification by fire almost.
That's a good way to put it. It's pivotal because it's the deep clearing that makes those later stages, like feeling your purpose or that sense of divinity, actually possible. You have to clear the space.
So given all this,
Mm-hmm.
the overwhelm, the dark night, how do you actually navigate it? What helps? What are the roadblocks?
Well, common obstacles are things like doubts and skepticism, which, interestingly, the advice isn't to push away, but to actually use them. Embrace them as chances to dig deeper.
Okay.
Then there are the ego battles. That old self doesn't go down without a fight, right? It resists the change. And of course, the sheer emotional turmoil as all that old stuff comes up.
So how do you deal with that?
The key really across the board is allowing yourself to feel it, not suppressing the uncomfortable emotions, and finding courage, self-compassion, and maybe connecting with others who understand community.
Okay, so allowing, not resisting. That feels important.
Mm-hmm.
So what about practical tools? How do we equip ourselves? Connecting with the here and now seems to be a big theme.
Huge theme. Like Ramana Maharshi suggested, if we could just consciously put down the ego, the thoughts, the desires, we'd realize our true self.
Easier said than done, though.
Oh, absolutely, which is why meditation is presented as such a powerful pathway towards that. And it doesn't have to be hours on a cushion.
Right, I saw that. Even 1 minute.
Yeah. 1-minute mindfulness exercises. Think of it like hitting the brakes on a runaway car just for a moment, gets you back in the driver's seat. Short, regular practice is often better than infrequent long sessions.
So what kind of techniques are we talking about?
Lots of options. Just basic sitting meditation, focusing on your breath. There's walking meditation, like Thich Nhat Hanh taught, matching steps to breath, maybe using a simple phrase.
Like, with each step, a gentle wind blows.
It's nice.
It is. Or starting your day with a body scan meditation.
Even what they call free-range meditation, using everyday stuff like showering or washing dishes as your focus point.
I like that, turning chores into practice.
Exactly. Then there's box breathing, that inhale, hold, exhale, hold pattern, visualizing a square. Super simple, very calming. Or even just taking one single conscious breath every time you walk through a doorway.
Tiny moments, but they add up.
They really do. And beyond formal meditation, there's breathwork itself. highlighted as a doorway into immediate meditation.
The breath, it's so fundamental, but we forget about it. Even the word spirit being linked to breath.
Exactly. Spiritus pneuma. It's right there in the language.
Yeah.
And the benefits listed are pretty amazing. Relaxing the nervous system, cutting anxiety, boosting mental clarity, even potentially leading to mystical experiences.
Wow. Are there different kinds?
Loads. Some are quite intense, like pranayama from yoga, holotropic breathwork, rebirthing, shamanic styles, the Wim Hof method. Those often need guidance, maybe have warnings. Okay, good to know.
But there are also many you can safely do on your own. Alternate nostril breathing is a classic. The 4-7-8 relaxing breath. Soft belly breathing, just gentle, easy belly breaths. Emphasis on less is more. Circular breathing, visualization breathing, square breathing. Lots of accessible options.
And journaling came up too, didn't it?
Oh yeah, big time. It's described as super helpful for just getting thoughts out of your head and for learning to spot the ego's voice.
How does that work? Spotting the ego.
By writing the thoughts down, you can look at them more objectively. You start to see the patterns, the recurring negative loops, and you can literally call out the ego's thoughts on the page. It helps you detach from them.
Creates distance.
Exactly. And the sources really stress, including gratitude in your journaling. Apparently, it can even help release core wounds.
So practically, how would you use journaling for this? Just free writing?
You could do that, or use prompts. Like, describe how you're feeling right now. Reflect on something significant that happened. Explore your fears. Set intentions. Write down insights you're having. It becomes this personal roadmap.
A record of your journey.
Yeah, helps process emotions, gain clarity, track your own evolution. It's powerful.
These are great tools. What about just integrating this into daily life, not just sitting down to meditate or journal?
Absolutely crucial. Things like speaking daily affirmations, consciously choosing positive thoughts to rewire your brain, taking walks in nature, so grounding, so peaceful, and just continuous learning, reading books or listening to podcasts from, master teachers.
Keep feeding your mind and spirit.
Right. And other things too. Creative expression, music, dance, art, doing acts of service for others, surprisingly, that's mentioned as a way towards ego death.
Yeah.
Shifting focus off yourself. And simply moving joyfully. Things like yoga are perfect because they combine movement, breath, sometimes mantras. It all ties together. Ultimately, the sources say enlightenment isn't some final destination you reach.
It's more like a way of being.
Exactly. A way of being and showing up in the world, sustained by just being mindful in everyday tasks, practicing gratitude, being kind. It's moment by moment.
Reading through all this, there was one piece of advice that really jumped out at me because it felt so backwards, like completely counter to what you'd normally think.
Oh, I think I know what you mean. Is it the part about not doing certain spiritual practices?
Yes, exactly that. It seems so counterintuitive. You'd think more meditation, more yoga, more crystals would be the answer when things get intense.
That's the standard advice, absolutely. Yeah. But what's fascinating and really quite groundbreaking in one of the sources is that for some people, right in the peak intensity of an awakening, those very things can make it worse.
Make it worse.
Well, the idea is that during that initial phase, you've got this massive influx of light, of energy. It supercharges your system. So if you then engage in practices that also stimulate energy, like meditation, yoga, even using crystals or essential oils, you can inadvertently push your system even further.
Like adding fuel to a fire that's already burning really hot.
Exactly. One source used the analogy of an overheating electrical charger. You're just overloading the circuits. And this can apparently make the difficult symptoms, the overwhelm, the anxiety, the psychic stuff, feeling out of control, significantly worse. It could even push someone into crisis.
Wow. Okay, so if those common tools are potentially off the table during that super intense phase, what is the advice? What's the golden rule here?
The advice is incredibly direct, it says. Don't do things that are going to charge your energy, stimulate your kundalini.
Kundalini, that's the spiritual energy at the base of the spine, right?
Yes, that powerful, often dormant energy, so don't stimulate that. And basically, don't do anything that's going to significantly alter your energetic or psychic state.
So what does that mean in practice? Avoid everything?
Pretty much, for a period. The recommendation is to avoid all energetic stimulants. That includes crystals, essential oils, incense. Get them out of your immediate space for at least 2 weeks. and stop any spiritual or healing practice that actively works with or moves energy.
That sounds drastic, like a complete withdrawal. What's the thinking behind that? Why pull back so completely?
The core idea is to give your system a break, a real chance to just settle down and self-ground, let the energies stabilize naturally without adding more stimulation.
Let the dust settle, kinda.
Exactly. It's presented as the absolute first step if you're in that overwrought state. The pathway is grounding, healing, clear intuition aligned with life purpose. You can't get to the healing or clarity if your system is constantly buzzing and overwhelmed.
So grounding comes first, even if it means not doing the things you thought were grounding.
Right. And interestingly, the source suggests that once your system does settle, you might realize you don't actually need all those external tools, the crystals, the intense practices, quite as much as you thought. You start to access your own intuition, your own wisdom more directly.
So it's about finding that connection within without needing the external props.
That seems to be the implication. Realizing your innate ability is already there once the static clears.
Okay, that's a really fascinating, important nuance. So after navigating all this, the intensity, the potential need to pull back, the healing, what happens then? Is it just over?
Not exactly over. The sources really stress the importance of integration. That's the next phase. It's about taking all those experiences, the uncomfortable realizations, the painful memories, the insights, and weaving them into wisdom.
Synthesizing it all.
Yeah. Making sense of it, learning from it. This integration leads to becoming less reactive and emotional. You develop more understanding, more compassion for yourself and for others.
And moving away from that feeling of separation.
Definitely. Less us versus them, more towards a real sense of unity with everything. You feel more whole and secure in yourself, less needy for validation from outside.
That sounds like a really grounded, peaceful place to be.
It does. But here's maybe the final surprising twist, or maybe the most realistic point from the sources.
Go on.
This whole process isn't linear. It's not like you awaken, integrate, and then you're done, certified, enlightened.
Ah, so you can have multiple awakenings.
Yes, you can experience multiple awakenings in a lifetime. It's described as this constant process of learning and failing. Not failing in a bad way, but just the natural ups and downs of growth.
Keep learning, keep growing.
Exactly. The advice is stay humble and never stop questioning and learning. Keep that beginner's mind.
That really resonates with that Zen saying, doesn't it? The one about chopping wood and carrying water.
Oh, absolutely. Prior to awakening,
Yeah.
chop wood, carry water. After awakening, chop wood, carry water. On the outside, your life might look much the same. You still do the dishes, go to work, deal with everyday stuff.
But inside,
Inside, your perception, your experience of reality is profoundly different. The transformation is internal. It's how you relate to the chopping wood and carrying water that changes.
wow. Okay, so wrapping this up, this deep dive really shows that spiritual awakening is, well, it's a lot. It's complex, it can be really challenging, but ultimately it seems to be about liberation.
I think so. It definitely takes courage, real self-awareness, and just being willing to sit with the discomfort, even when it feels like your whole world is turning upside down.
And we've seen there are so many tools,
Yeah.
but also maybe times to put the tools down. From those tiny 1-minute mindfulness breaks and specific breath work.
To journaling, to that really surprising golden rule about avoiding energetic stimulants sometimes. It's such a personal path.
It really is. But those core ideas of becoming more aware and then integrating what you become aware of, those seem universal.
Definitely. Self-awareness and integration.
So maybe a final thought for everyone listening as they navigate their own journey. What's one small, consistent shift you could make in your daily routine, starting today perhaps, that might open a new doorway to understanding your own unfolding path? Something to ponder.